Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. Technical difficulties. We're back. Another episode number 83. As always, I'm your host, Shaun Holko, alongside my guys, Mr. Jaevon Toddy, Mr. Garry Singh. Gary, how are we doing this week?
We're doing good, my boy. Let's get it. Another pod, another day, a lot of topics. I'm active, ready to go Tuesday. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. We are here on a Tuesday. Thank you for pointing that out, Gary, as we didn't go live yesterday because there was a Kings game. We all wanted to be here together. And Jaevon, Podfather, how we doing?
We are live in effect. We're 3 weeks in. I guess this is like my 127 hours documentation. Just every week. How we doing? I'm still here.
How many diaper count we out? What diaper count we out, my man? 102.
Oh my gosh. We're probably way above that by now.
Buried in diapers.
Oh yeah. But we got a bunch though. So I was kind of thinking how Gary's thinking, damn, we probably need to start loading up, and then Soph showed me the mountain. the mountain of diapers and wipes that we got, until she was like, oh yeah, we got newborns to all the sizes. She organized it by sizes. So she gets, I'm just gonna say moms don't get the credits that they deserve. They are underrated.
She got you right.
They are definitely underrated on just the little things that they do. Little things like that you need. Yeah, moms are superheroes. I've always said that.
There you go. Score some points, Vaughn. There you go.
Oh, we're back.
Hey.
So
yeah. That's exactly why people need to tune in on YouTube, on X, and even on Instagram. Even though I'm battling, I don't know if it's because I'm back here in my office in Woodland or whatever, or maybe because it's a Tuesday night, but I'm dealing with some personal difficulties right now when it comes to technical difficulties, as far as on the producer side of things. And so here we are. We're here. Uncle Manny says it's great to have you back. Have an amazing episode. We appreciate you as always, Uncle Manny. We're going to get into a NBA and NFL podcast today as far as topics go. And we're going to try our best to get it all in within about an hour. And so let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into it, gentlemen. As the news from this past week in the NBA is that Steve Kerr got a 2-year, $35 million contract extension with the Golden State Warriors, where he will remain through 2026. And so, Gary, what do you think about this move? It sure is. It sure is. So,
man, like you said, Shaun, multiple-time champion. I don't know if you mentioned that, but hey, as deservedly so. I mean, on par with, I guess, Stephen Curry. I think be locked and loaded together until, they want to part ways or one wants to retire in a way. But, hey, man, just like Eric Spoelstra in a way, he got that place on lockdown, and as deservedly so, He deserves that. He built a culture builder, helped deliver them multiple championships, and is probably in the GOAT debate of one of the greatest coaches of all time, and obviously one of the best role players and shooters of all time, too, all the championships he has. So, I mean, I don't know why you give me that Shaun that face. I said he could be top
the
five.
GOAT debate? The GOAT debate? A guy who hasn't even been coaching for a decade? What?
Yeah.
No.
His resume is up there. You got what? You got 3 rings?
He has a resume. He has a
resume. That's why he's coaching the Olympic team. You have gold medals to his resume, man. He got a lot of things. He got the best team ever on his resume.
The longevity.
You got a lot of things. Exactly.
He hasn't been coaching for that long.
But he's gonna keep coaching. But you keep adding these deals, or keep adding up. I don't see him stopping anytime soon, Shaun. So I feel like he could still be easy top 5 right now. Maybe GOAT debate was a little bit reaching on my end, okay. But top 5, I for sure think he could be top 5 looking back at it. But at the end of the day, he deserves this, and yeah, he's still in the middle of his career in a sense, and coaching wise. So yeah, he got a lot of time to go, especially if Curry's going to keep playing.
Well, that's where I push back on what you just said, Gary, because first you were saying that this extension at least allows Steph and Steve to remain together, at least through the remainder of Steph's playing career, because as we know, playing careers end up being a lot shorter than coaching careers for obvious reasons. But Steve Kerr, if he sticks around beyond the Steph Curry era and has success after that, that's when I may consider him to
another 8 years.
enter that conversation. Okay, well, he's got to stick
Well,
around
who's
and do it
your
without
GOAT then? Who's your GOAT? Because every GOAT we got, he's going to be come with the best player. Phil Jackson? Who you got?
The GOAT?
Carl
I mean,
Popovich?
yes. A lot of people would say Phil Jackson. A lot of people would say Greg Popovich. Some would even say Red Auerbach.
They all got Tim Duncan, Michael Jordan, Kobe.
I say
Who you say?
Patrick Riley is the GOAT because of everything that he did as a player, as a coach, as an executive. Pat Riley to me is the GOAT. If we are talking just strictly as a coach, then probably a Greg Popovich, just because Greg Popovich didn't have the playing career that a Phil Jackson did that preceded him. Well, I stopped. Well, Gary, we'll have to catch back up with that in a moment. I paused for a second just to let you jump in there, but Jaevon, now tossing it over to you. Just what do you think about this extension for Steve Kerr and the Warriors?
I thought it was, deserved. I kind of see him being the coach for the foreseeable future, but I don't really get because Steve Kerr has had, obviously he's been a player, he's been a broadcaster, he's been a GM, so it's like he's kind of jumped all over here and there. You could argue kind of like a Pat Riley. He only got a 2-year extension. It's not like a 10-year contract that Shaun has already mentioned that he hasn't really been coaching for that long, but it seems like just the other day that they were going to the finals pretty much every year playing against LeBron James, and like what was it, 4 straight finals? But LeBronologists
he's
will come at
almost a decade, 10
straight years. But that's neither here nor there. But I think that Steve Kerr is one of the top LeBronologists in the NBA. He's this extension would make him the highest paid coach in the NBA. And I kind of interjected earlier, this is 3-and-D money. This is what guys with the open market are getting to kind of come to and play for your team. But no, I wouldn't see anything else. But this is, I would say, a decaying dynasty because currently right now guys are kind of getting up there in age. Albeit the Warriors are one of the hottest teams in the NBA currently right now. But I feel like they've kind of, hit their stride. But if when you look at Steph, Clay, and Draymond, they're all in their 30s. So I wouldn't see this team kind of getting up there. I don't know if they're going to be consistently getting to finals year in and year out. They're kind of just trying to, rebrand. I wouldn't say rebuild is what they're trying to do. I feel like they're trying to, pivot. And, in a different direction as we're seeing, with lineup changes like Klay Thompson coming off of the bench. We've seen Draymond come off the bench and even Steph's come off the bench in playoff games. But that was due to injury. But you're kind of seeing, they're getting Chris Paul back too. So that might help them in some shape or form. But I feel like the 2-year extension should be maybe like a little bit of a telling sign for hey, let's see where we're at in 2 years. Like, is Clay still going to be there? We already heard that Clay, I think it came out earlier in the week, or was it at the end of last week, where he was like, he doesn't plan on playing until he's 40 years old, wants to retire as a Warrior. And we don't know how much left that he's had in the gas tank. And I even heard Draymond Green, who was on a podcast this past All-Star weekend, I think it was Jeff Teague's podcast, where he was saying he's never gotten a max extension before. And, wanting to, be one of those max guys on a roster. So wants to get as much as he can out of each and every contract that he's trying to get. So, and obviously there's Steph Curry, arguably the greatest point guard of all time. How many years left does he have? It doesn't look like he has any signs of slowing down. He's still averaging like 27 a game, all-star caliber, one of the best players in the league. So, that 2 year part in the extension is kind of telling a little bit, seeing like, hey, let's see where we're at in 2 years. Are we more of a fringe playing team, or are we still one of the top 5 seeds in the Western Conference?
Yeah, and it's crazy. I mentioned earlier that this is obviously through 2026. To me, like it doesn't even feel like 2026 is 2 years away. It feels like 2026 is like 4 or 5 years away. No, 2 years away. So I guess we'll see where the Warriors are at in a couple of years. The Warriors are one team that is currently fighting for a play-in spot in the Western Conference. They find themselves in that 7 through 12 range, even 5 through 12, because it's very bundled up in the West right now. And so, Jaevon, I wanted to ask you first about the West. Just who are you expecting to compete in the play-in tournament and obviously get a seed that's somewhere between 7 through 10? Because there's a lot of big names that are currently in the NBA play-in tournament as far as the standings go right now. Right now, the Sacramento Kings would be hosting the top play-in tournament game because right now they are the 7 seed. Then you have the Dallas Mavericks with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. You have the Golden State Warriors, the aforementioned Golden State Warriors. They're at number 9. And the LeBronologist favorite team, the Los Angeles Lakers, are there at number 10. And so, since I mentioned the LeBronologist, let's throw it to our resident LeBronologist, or at least one of them. And Gary, who do you expect to be competing in the play-in right now by the end of the season? Because right now, it's 3 out of 4 teams from the Pacific Division.
To be honest, y'all have been looking at this standing every single day for a couple weeks now, just because it's a roller coaster, guys. As you just probably mentioned, for starting off on the West, I don't know if you worried, my bad, cutting it out real quick. Just wanted to refresh that. But I'm gonna start from the West real quick. We got the Pelicans, the Suns, and the Kings, and Dallas Mavericks pretty much locked and low. And you go with the Warriors and the Lakers. Them 6 seeds right there. 4 teams are going to be playing. 2 teams are obviously going to be in the tournament and be locked into the playoffs in the top 6 seeds. So, and realistically, there's only 3 games, but in my mind, 3 games is about how much, anything above 3 is pretty tough, swings to say. I mean, it could happen for sure, but I would say that right now are we good, Shaun? You said it's you.
Well, we could hear you now, but there was a moment when you first jumped back in that
we good.
The thing that we talked about last week where it was like it just there for like half a second. Anyway, you're good now. Let's hear it.
All right, let me know because we're gonna pause this thing real quick. Technical difficulties, Allen stats or politics. Let's go. All right. Anyways, I think I'm gonna have realistically. I looked at the strength of schedule before today, and I think our Kings are gonna make it. The Kings fan, I think we're gonna make the top 6. Now, realistically, I do think the Mavericks have been playing great. See, that's the thing, though. Like they've been 7-3 in the last 10. Golden State Warriors, Lakers 8-2, 7-3. Realistically, if you go by last 10, who's really hot right now? The Kings are actually 5-5, so they actually could be on the downturn. But just for the fact that we all know, because we live in Sacramento, they're gonna have a lot of home games in March. I'm gonna take the advantage of being at home, and I think they're gonna be able to crack the top 6. And I think the New Orleans Pelicans, even though they have a tough schedule too, I think they're going to be able to crack the top 6 as well. And I think the Phoenix Suns, just because they're not going to have Bill just yet, I think they're going to end up being in the in-season tournament. So we're going to have a crazy in-season tournament, guys, full of Hall of Famers. Not in-season tournament, a play-in tournament. And so it's going to be pretty crazy because by what I just said right now, the 7th to 8th seed, it's Suns versus the Dallas Mavericks, the Lakers versus the Warriors. That's going to be LeBron versus Curry and Durant versus Kyrie and Luka for one game to stay alive. I'm going to have LeBron beating the Warriors, knocking them out. And I'm going to take, I think, Kevin Durant versus LeBron. And you already know who I'm taking on. Oh, no, I forgot. I think that the Phoenix Suns are going to beat the Mavericks. So they're going to end up having the 7th seed. So it's going to be the Mavericks versus the Lakers. And I think the Lakers are going to get the 8th seed. So I got the Lakers getting the 8th seed. I got, of course. And so, yeah, I think that's how it's going to play out. And I think that the young teams are going to keep staying on top, which I got the 5th and 6th seed being the Kings and the Pelicans, be able to withstand the regular season right at the end here. So it's gonna be a crazy matchup. Rory really down towards the end. Every game's gonna count. So like plays like last night where the Detroit Pistons get screwed, even though they're not in a playoff matchup, but when you get screwed a little bit here and there, and as we Kings fans last time we drop a game, try almost complete a comeback down by 20, but not able to finish it off when guys are missing and heat culture prevails over us. It's tough. After a greater win. So, and same thing, you can go back to the Lakers. So every game right now with 25 games left is going to be big time. Literally, you can go from 5th to 8th to back to 10th. So it's going to be a big shakeup, but it's going to be great to see because we're going to see some Hall of Famers and some winner-take-all matchups. Game 7, basically. So I'm going to love to see that.
Jaevon, I'm glad that Garry mentioned the current, as we speak right now, at 7:42 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on a Tuesday night, the current matchup, what would be in the West between the 9 and 10 seed. And Jaevon, the reason why I want to hyper focus on that is because a couple years back when we were doing Shaun and Vaughn and this play-in tournament idea was introduced, Jaevon was not a fan of it. And it
really,
makes
Vaughn?
me recall, it makes
now
me think back.
It.
He has to now, but it just all makes me think back to the very first play-in tournament game that we had, at least of note, because the one between Charlotte and Indiana wasn't great. But I have vivid memories of that 7-8 matchup in LA between the Warriors and the Lakers. And the thing that Jaevon said to me, even after that game, which was so great, is I said, well, Jaevon, we could get matchups like this in the play-in tournament that are just so much more exciting. And I remember Jaevon's reply to me was, well, how often are you really going to get the Lakers and the Warriors in the play-in tournament? Here we are again. And so just, Jaevon, what do you think about the current matchups and how do you see things shaking out in the West long-term?
So yeah, it kind of goes back, back to the Shaun and Vaughn days that Shaun was talking about. I didn't envision what I kind of envisioned the play-in tournament being like was the Indianapolis and Charlotte game. That's what I thought it was going to be. Those types of teams that were like fringe teams that we would see, and then you would get blowouts like that in both of those play-in tournament games. But I'm going to take it all the way back to October the 20th, from when I made rankings and play-ins and all that stuff. So my Western Conference rankings, I had the Suns at number 1, I had the Nuggets at 2, Lakers 3rd, Kings 4th, the Warriors 5th, Clippers 6th, Dallas 7th, OKC, I had them in the play-in. I had them 8th, but obviously, they're
good.
Memphis 9th, and I had San Antonio 10th. So there's a bunch of there's a lot of riffraff going on there. Obviously the San Antonio thing is just way overly blown out of proportion. Did not even have the Timberwolves in the playoffs, so there's a
which I think I remember everyone was talking smack that I believed in Cat, and look at him now. I think you two are talking. Just FYI,
needs to be done. I did have the Kings in the playoffs. As far as the play in the shape right now. That's 7, 8, 9, 10. Because the Kings are 7th. I feel like the Kings are gonna somehow be in the play-in. I don't know if they would be playing. I feel like I think the Pelicans are gonna be in the play-in for some weird reason. The Kings are gonna get matched up against the Pels, but the Kings don't match up well.
Lord.
Pelicans.
So then when you got the Mavericks and the Suns,
every time y'all play against them, it's not good. And I usually gamble against you guys every single chance you guys play the Pelicans and win. The Pelicans have been so inconsistent. Injuries between Zion Williamson, Brandon Ingram. You've kind of seen those guys to be in and out of the lineup. You would like to see them be healthy. Would want to see Zion in a playoff type setting. And another thing for the play-in too, when Shaun was talking about when we were going back to Shaun and Vaughn, another thing I didn't really like was that these games don't count as playoff stats. They just don't count as playoff stats. They don't count as regular season stats. Just
Tatum's 50 piece is just out there in the universe somewhere.
It's just out there, and I'm like, well, what are these games? Like, did they actually
should be playoff stats?
Did they not have So what do they go down as? I would consider these as playoff games, basically.
For sure.
But as far as the plan goes, I feel like it's going to be the Kings, Pels, I feel like the Lakers and Warriors are probably going to be in there again. Before the season started, I was very hesitant on. I had Memphis in there, obviously, because, the John Morant. I was going to be like, hey, John, 25 games, simple math. It's going to be tough to come back, but maybe they'll still be a top 10 seed and they'll try and fight for their life to get in. But obviously, John Morant, he was suspended and then ended up getting hurt. So,
the dangler.
Yeah, the dangler. So my playing teams, I got the Kings, I got the Pels, Warriors, Lakers.
So you got Mavericks and Suns making it.
I think the Mavs are starting to kind of figure it out with Kyrie and Luka. Luka's playing at MVP caliber level currently. I think the Suns are kind of starting to hit their groove too. We saw an emergence of Bol, who came out of wherever the hell he came from this past Sunday. I think when healthy, they can be one of the scarier teams that no one wants to play against because they have those three prolific scorers. So I would envision that they get at least a top 5, 6 seed. Probably 6 is where they would be at. But I think those teams get in. Now, I'm not going to pick my playing team winners and all that stuff like Gary is because,
No, yeah, just the teams that you think might be there.
That's who I think.
It's all good. I'm predicting the future as usual.
Currently right now. Now, if the Warriors, if they play up this crazy streak that they're playing at right now, they might be able to get maybe a 7 seed-ish if they keep playing at the seed.
I'm gonna say, you think they're jumping up 3 spots? They're only 3 games back, so it is possible.
So it's possible, but I don't know if they can keep this play up.
It's tough in the West, man.
Remember, it's very tough, very stacked in the West.
Well, Gary, now spinning it forward to the Eastern Conference, it looks like there are 2 teams that are locks. Like, we don't even need to debate or discuss it. The Chicago Bulls and the Atlanta Hawks are locks for the play-in tournament because there are currently 4 teams within a half game of each other from 5 to 8, and that is the 76ers, the Heat, who beat the Kings last night, the Orlando Magic, and the Indiana Pacers, who are all separated by half a game. You have the Sixers in 5th, and then you have Miami, Orlando, and Indiana.
All technically. There's thing.
Well, yeah, you could throw the Knicks. You could throw the Knicks in there, but I'm showing them a little bit more respect just because they have that game and a half above the 5th seed. But because you got those 4 teams all within a half game of each other. Then the Knicks have the 1.5 game. So I do agree, Gary, that the Knicks could easily lose a couple games and then they're right in that same mix. But at least as of right now, you have 5 through 8 that are all separated by half a game, and 6 through 8 are technically all tied for the 6th seed. So, Gary, excluding Chicago and Atlanta, because we expect them to both be in the play-in tournament, both likely at 9 and 10, unless Brooklyn or Toronto can get going and try to knock one of them out. I'll hear from you in a moment about that, Gary. But just given where things are at in the Eastern Conference right now, what are the 4 teams that you expect to see in the play-in tournament in a couple months, or actually a month, because it's almost March?
Exactly. I think you said it on the money. 9 and 10 is locked in with Chicago, Atlanta. Funny thing is, though, it's obviously they're one game back from each other, so they're going to see who wants to get home court. Where is the game going to be played? So I bet there's still going to be a little bit of stake. I wonder if they play each other by the end of the year. That'll be a big stake game right there. So, but looking like you said, I'll give the Knicks a respect. Like you said, I'll keep them out of it. Let them think they're they're going to be. They've been on the right track and they're getting people healthy slowly but surely. So I'll let them stay in the 4th seed, like you mentioned. So let's talk about 5 through 8 here, like you mentioned. 76ers, the Heat, Orlando Magic, and Pacers. I think it's going to be locked and loaded in how it is right here. And I think I'm going to rock with, I kind of maybe want to put the Pacers above the Orlando Magic, maybe. But I think due to the fact that the Pacers have been, the Orlando Magic have been playing a little bit better. I'm trying to look at the strength of schedule. I didn't look at the East real quick. I wonder who is higher real quick. Indiana's higher on strength of schedule, so they're gonna, like I mentioned. So I had a gut feeling about that. So that's actually good for them though, because they need this last little stretch right here to get right, because they had some injuries too. So I think this is all locked in around how it looks right now, Sean. I think 76ers have been playing a role. I know there's a debate today to see, like because the news of Joel Embiid, should he be come back? I think that since he doesn't have, too many, you don't know what his years left or how much gas he got left. Not to say that he's old or anything like that. He just, he's injury prone. It's sad to say, but when he's on the court, he's great. So if he can play and play at some capacity, I feel like they've built enough chemistry in the beginning of this year that they should rock and roll together. And he should, you never know, because the Bucks are still, they're trying to figure it out and they're starting to get on the right track. But still, just the first year, only team like you really can be really, I feel like you should be really scared of, because they have years of experience and continuity, is really Vaughn's team in the Celtics. You know what I'm saying? So I really feel like that. I really feel like the CEO is getting with that, Vaughn. I'm not gonna lie. I lost my whole train of thought now.
How about
76, man, the 76ers can, sneak up on a team, you know what I'm saying? So I think they're going to be raw locked in right there. I think the Miami Heat, them still dealing with all they're dealing with, all the injuries and players they have out. They're going to be locked into the 6th seed. And yeah, we're going to have Orlando Magic versus the Pacers, two young teams fighting it out to get the 7th seed, which is going to be great. The two older teams, the 76ers, the Miami Heat, get locked in. Kind of opposite what I did in the West, of what the young teams making, and the old teams, the older veteran teams kind of playing a play-in. But I just feel like that the Orlando Indiana Pacers, I just want to see that matchup, so I'm kind of leaning towards that, to be honest. And yeah, I just feel like this is looking at strength of schedule, that's what's more going to look like for these teams. So, and at the end of the day, we're going to guess the future now. I got Indiana beating the Orlando Magic, getting the 7th seed, and then I got the Chicago Bulls beating the Atlanta Hawks. So Chicago versus the Orlando Magic, and I got the Orlando Magic getting the 8th seed, which I think might be a little scary for you, Vaughn. That's a good little matchup, little Orlando Magic Celtics. They can match it because I know, but Pablo and all the guys they got can stretch the floor too. And your hand, Paulo, that's my guy. Paulo, man,
Yeah,
I
same difference.
him and the Wagner twins. I just feel they got a lot of weapons to be able to guard you guys. Not guard you guys, but they can be able to be versatile, just like you guys are. So hey, I don't know.
They're very big.
Well, Jaevon, let's hear more about the East from your perspective.
So we're going back to October 20th again, guys. I got three of the four playing teams right. I had Detroit in there because Monty Williams. I thought he was gonna remember the Titans, Coach Boone them, and just at least get them to a play-in. But
and then they lost 28 games in a row.
Yeah, they look good the first 4 games of the year, and then it all went downhill from there. But I'll just go for my 10 to 7 what I had. I had Indy, Detroit, Orlando, and Atlanta. So I basically have all those teams that are just kind of moved around a little bit. What I think is going to happen, I think the Sixers are going to fall into the plan because we don't know anything about Joel Embiid, his health, where they're going to be at, and they've already lost 2 straight.
You got the fighting Buddy Hields out there.
You do have the fighting Buddy Hields out there, but even if Joel does come back, he still needs to get back into game shape, and getting ready for the playoffs after coming off of an injury is kind of weird, and it's kind of weird on the chemistry and just how everything is going to kind of shape up if and when he does come back. So I think they're going to fall down there. I think the team that probably gets booted out is probably Atlanta. Atlanta's been the most inconsistent team in
the most mid
in the playoffs. I think I saw a stat for them in the last 5 years they're 500. So I think that's what
it was the last 500 games. They are 250 and 250.
Literally
the definition crazy of mid.
So maybe that's a telling sign on Trae Young's future and what the Atlanta team will look like in the offseason.
You've been trying to trade Trae Young since last year. Kev was too.
I'm not sure if it was me personally, but
Kev, I think
Kevin probably was. But I think it'll probably end up being Pacers, Magic, Sixers, Bulls will probably be the play-in spots for the Eastern Conference. Now, depending on health, is if the Sixers will even be there, because I'm judging it off of to be honest, I don't think Embiid is coming back for the rest of the year. I think he's done. He's been
That
playing.
changes my whole thing too.
He's been playing with injury. I was listening to Pat Bev's podcast, and he was saying that Joel's been playing the whole entire season basically with a knee injury, and kind of for him was kind of like
he's played his whole career injured.
Yeah. So it's kind of just been like the straw that kind of just, I don't know what the saying is.
Broke the camel's back, Jaevon.
So the straw that there we go, Shaun. Straw that broke the camel's back. So I feel like with that being said, Philly could miss the playoffs. Like that's a very possible statement.
Damn.
We saw them tonight. That's just how important Embiid is. Like Embiid was like the clear-cut MVP, I think, in my opinion.
Yeah, but that'd be like an 8-game losing streak.
I thought he was just the MVP. And then until, he obviously went down with injury, and then now you kind of see what their team looks like. They look kind of empty without Joel. It shows how much he means to that franchise and what he kind of is to that team. And he's just a big part of that offense. So obviously Tyrese Maxey is going to get his, but it's like he doesn't have his running mate, and obviously Joel Embiid. So he's technically the number one option for right now, and I don't know if that's enough to make the plan in the Eastern Conference this year.
Well, now let's spin it forward to the MVP race, because Jaevon just mentioned there's a guy who could have gone back-to-back, but he's not going to have enough games to even be eligible. And then you look at Denver. There's a guy out there who is making himself a case. There's Luka Doncic in Dallas, who Gary mentioned as a potential MVP frontrunner. So, Jaevon, I'm going to toss it back to you first with this one. Who do you have right now on February 27th at 7:58 p.m.? Who do you got as your MVP frontrunner in the NBA?
I kind of went back and forth on this. The bias me would probably say Jason Tatum, based off of what he's averaging.
That's my pick.
What he's averaging, 27 points a game, the best player on the best team. The way that this team is, just the success that he's had over his entire career has been pretty much unprecedented. Like his first year in the NBA, he's dunking on LeBron James in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, I think a big
and
part
yelling
of this,
in his face.
Yeah. I think a big part of this team is Jason Tatum playing well for the Boston Celtics. And another thing is he's available. He's playing despite him being the 65 game rule. I think Jason Tatum's been healthy for the majority of his NBA career. Now, that's the biased me talking. The unbiased me just looking, hoopers, just looking at the league as a whole. I think it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The way on how young that this team is, and Shai is consistently going night in and night out basis, I think he's averaging north of 30 points a game. Trying to up his assists a little bit, but I think the reason why this team is so good so early is because how much of a leap that Shai has taken. Even from last year. I know that Shai was averaging like 30 points a game last year. I just think you see a different type of leadership in him, and him being able to elevate his team and teammates. I think another reason is Chet Holmgren is also on the team as well. But the big reason why OKC is number one or number two, I think they're number 2 seed currently right now in the West, is because of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. And last year they were they played in the play-in last year, so they got a little bit of playoff type of experience. Shai's been in the playoffs before when he was with the Clippers in his early years, first couple of years that he was in the league. I think he played in the playoffs with OKC when Chris Paul was there. If I'm not mistaken, I think so.
Yeah, you got it.
So he has a little bit of playoff experience, but I just think on him just being the guy, being one of those top teams, this will be a first for him. And their team is very young. I think the average age on the team is like 24 years old. So
youngest in the NBA. I
think Shai's like the vet on that team. He's like a 4 or 5 year. He's like the vet, and he's like 25, 6. So, That team is very young. I don't know what their success will look like in the playoffs, but I think a huge reason why this team is what they are is because of Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, obviously.
Okay, so Mr. LeBronologist Gary Singh, we just heard Jaevon's biased take with his Celtics fan heart, but then we also heard his sports analyst opinion. And so, Gary, I now toss it to you. Who's your MVP front runner, and why is it LeBron James?
Yeah, it's LeBron. Nah, it's not LeBron, guys. It's not LeBron this year. Let's, I was trying to, looking at these numbers, I was trying to make a case here, but you feel me? It's still a little bit tough.
We need Kevin. We need Kevin here to make the case for him.
No, exactly. He'll make a case always. If we go 25-0 for the rest of the way, LeBron. Okay. Anyways, man, it's pretty tough, man, to really see. Every year we have the same discussion. What's the criteria? What's your personal criteria? You always go Shaq saying, but better numbers and things of that nature. And if you're a mid team, or the debate with Kenny and Chuck always saying best team, best player, but best player in the league, quote, not even mattering what the team, scoring leader. So there's so many different ways to look at this nowadays. And there's been years where you get like Russell Westbrook and do great and get average a triple double and you get an MVP, but now you got a guy like Sabonis is doing the same thing in a way in a different type of scheme, but not getting no love at all as an MVP candidate while he got our engine going last year and this year with the Fox on his side. So it's tough, and I'm just I was like Vaughn mentioned, I did kind of feel like it was Tatum's turn, especially since Embiid, I feel like kind of had it locked up just because how dominant he was and, what seed they were going to get. And I was been leaning Tatum last few weeks before kind of people brought it up and like, oh, why is he getting any votes? And now people are kind of making
but
he skyrocketed. Yes, there's a but coming. Hold on, Shaun. There's a but coming.
I was waiting for it.
And so he's been playing great, and I feel like, him saying that he wants to be the face of the league and things of that nature, and it's just great to see that, somebody won it, and, he's been a great role model so far, he's a great father too. So him just checking off a lot of boxes that the NBA is looking for in a superstar, the next quote unquote face of the league. He does check those boxes and being in Boston. So I feel like he deserves it, and he gets real consideration as guys that we can mention, Luka, Tatum, Brunson, Mitchell. They've been having a hard year, but obviously Giannis still has numbers. SGA. I just want to mention people who are really killing it on every single team and keeping their team afloat throughout all year. Who's been consistent with Anthony Edwards and things of that nature. So, and obviously I see De'Aaron Fox. So there's a lot of guys in this race. So I feel like it's hard week to week, and it's anyone's to grab. I think after the performance of, I'm going through a lot, Shaun. Hold on, I'll go for Jokic.
I just keep waiting to hear
because this is my mind. This is my mind. This is like, okay. First, I was thinking Tatum. I'm explaining my mindset, what I was thinking this whole process, how I went about this. First, I was thinking Tatum. Then I was like, I want to give it to Jokic because Jokic, man, he's been 30 points, 16 and 16 last 2 games, just doing everything. He's best player in the world. Stamp it right now. It's pretty tough to take away from him, even though we have other guys who are killing it. Then I was like, but I think Jason Tatum's butt was too many superstars on the team again get split vote. Kevin Durant gets that same thing. I think Giannis kind of gets that same thing. I also feel like Joker, he kind of got the MVP because they always said Jamal Murray wasn't there. That's why he kind of got a little bit spurred more into it, like that gave him credit because someone was gone.
Twice though.
I think
twice.
No, I'm not saying he didn't deserve. He deserved those years. I'm saying that. I'm just saying like they use a narrative that to give extra points to.
Well, I know, I know, but that's my point. Is you could use that narrative with the first year, but then the second year, it's like that narrative is gone.
No, he was injured a little bit too last year. Murray too. Before the run, he came at the end again. The first year he wasn't there. The second year, yeah, last year's injured too. He came towards the end again. So yeah, he's been having
my mistake. My mistake.
Don't worry about it. Anyways, they always give credit. So like. I think my MVP right now, it could change for the last 20 games if they put some things change, but I'm going to go with a guy who I think is literally the best player who if he wins a ring, I'm counting him as the best player, literally. And he's the best friend of Joker basically this All-Star weekend, and that's going to be Luka Doncic. I think Luka Doncic should be MVP. Like 34 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. I know these are counting stats, but you can see I just went through some other stats here too. Since we don't got Kev here today, so I gotta take a little bit of stat man instead of Mr. Politicking over here always. So he's over here also, And obviously top 5 in assists. I already said top 5 in scoring, leading the league in scoring, top 2 behind Curry, 3.9 3-pointers made a game. And so I know he's doing it in a way that people always carry LeBron, but he's kind of doing it in a different way where, he controlling a lot of each position, which LeBron did. But I just feel like he's just doing it in a different way because his style is obviously less aggressive than LeBron. So, and also the fact that Kyrie's been missing a lot and he's keeping them afloat. You know what I'm saying? They've been everyone knows they haven't been really hitting on all cylinders. One of the biggest signings this offseason was Grant Williams, and he just got shipped off, and they got people, there's videos of him cut up and talking shit about him. And Draymond Green is saying that you stop acting like a tough guy. So, there's like so many things going on with his team, and he's been consistent. So I just feel like even though the seeding might not be there, if he can keep them in the play-in 5-4, I think he deserves to be MVP numbers-wise, and no one can guard him wise. However you want to put it, he's been consistent all year with a team that's been mismatched around him and plug and play in a sense, and he's been keeping them more than afloat. So if he can get top the 5th seed like I predicted earlier, I think that he should be in MVP conversation. And that's just as of right now, because I feel like he's going to go on a tear, to be honest with you. That's really what I'm predicting too. So even though I feel like Joker probably deserves it right at this moment, I'm going to predict that I think that Luka's going to end up getting the MVP this year.
Well, there you go. We each have a different MVP. I have Jason Tatum. Jaevon's heart has Jason Tatum, but his brain says SGA. And then Gary has Luka Doncic. But
going in a circle. Gary's going in a circle.
Yeah, well, here's my
bring around the rosy.
Is that even though I definitively was the only one to choose Jason Tatum, you both mentioned Jason Tatum at length, and so I would say that I would consider him a top
record.
3. Yeah, exactly, and I would consider Jason Tatum a top 3 candidate consensus wise. The only thing I would push back, I believe, Gary, you were the one that said this on Jason Tatum kind of being knocked down a notch, just given the star power on his team.
All those guys.
Yeah. So the one thing that I would argue, I would push back on that just a little bit to say, I would argue that Jaylen Brown is really the only other star on the team. But then at the same time,
Porzingis has been playing great, bro.
Kristaps Porzingis was an all-star. Drew Holiday was an all-star, and so I guess I'm kind of and Al Horford. Al Horford.
And you all forgot the other guy, basically a 6th man who was killing in the beginning of the year.
Well, Derek White.
Yep. So yeah, they got a lot of guys there, man.
Okay, well, yeah.
But
well, speaking of the guys.
It's just so sucks here to knock them down. You know what I'm saying? Because they have guys with them. Like every team has great players. So, hey, might as well go with the scoring leader. Can't be wrong.
And I mean, that's kind of what I was doing with Steve Kerr like 20 minutes ago. Is I was kind of knocking him down, just given the amount of talent that he's had on his team. Is it's like you really want to put him in the GOAT conversation when he's had like 4 Hall of Famers on his team that got him 2 out of 3 championships? I don't know.
But actually, every team has
4 championships.
Shaun.
I know, and that's yes, and that's why we're circling around.
Fans were idiots. Anyways,
yeah. Well, speaking of that loaded Boston Celtics squad, and real quickly before we do get to our next segment, I just wanted to address a YouTube comment real quickly. Uncle Manny says, I miss Kevin and his stats. He's really taking the Eagles loss badly. Lucky I'm used to it as a Cowboys fan. I just wanted to address this real quickly because Uncle Manny, you might have missed it, and a lot of our audience might have missed it. But as I addressed at the beginning of episode 80, so you could replay episode 80 if you want to hear the whole explanation of everything. But basically, Kevin's work schedule changed, and that's why he hasn't been joining us the last couple of weeks. We hope that he rejoins us very soon. But as Jaevon said on episode 80, life be lifing. And so Kevin's absence has nothing to do with the Eagles. It has nothing to do with the Kings. It's just he has a busy work schedule. And so I understand Uncle Manny was just talking trash, but I just wanted to be able to address that as well, just because that's the joke that people like go to is like, oh my God, the Eagles flamed out. That's why Kevin's. Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that Kevin's work schedule changed. That's it. And he'll be rejoining us real soon. So in Kevin's absence, even though he's here with us every single episode in spirit, the show must go on and Factor Cap must go on. So one question for you guys this week, Jaevon, I'm going to start out with you. Factor Cap, the Celtics will win the NBA championship this season.
Fact, baby. We're taking it. We're taking it this year. I think we're gonna.
It must be great to be a great. Hold on, real quick, Vaughn. Ain't it so lucky, bro? You're a damn Niners fan. Y'all went to the bowl. You got a team in the Celtics
And
that
we
got
lost.
a chance to go to the finals.
Oh, yeah.
God damn, bro, you living in glory, huh? Gosh,
Man,
sheesh. Gotta get like you.
Yeah, I don't know.
Coming from a Steelers fan.
Go ahead.
I think as far as the, I'm gonna go back to what Gary's saying. I went through a lot of tough times. There was a Jim Tomsula era. There was a Mike Singletary era. There was a Chip Kelly era. So it wasn't all peaches and sunshine at one point in time.
And Mike Nolan.
And Mike Nolan. So I mean, we went
right
through
now
a little
we're going
bit.
through
And then all of it. We had Jim Harbaugh, who was heaven sent to us, and then I was so heartbroken when he ended up going back to Michigan. But as far as the Celtics go, we had. I mean, the year I kind of hopped on was when KG and Ray Allen kind of went to the Celtics, and there were some years where we had Jeff Green was our best player, Marcus Smart, and, we went kind of ups and downs, but consistently made the playoffs, so we were never really terrible. But as far as the factor cap segment goes, I'm gonna go with this is a fact. I think our team is ready. I've been through so many. I've had to literally defend this duo to Gary, to Shaun, to Kevin, because they get crushed every single time. We're like, oh, you need to break this duo up, or this is Jaylen Brown's making $300 million. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, every single year that they've been on the team together, they go to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like it's either Eastern Conference Finals or they go to the finals. So I'm just like, why would you want to break that up? They're knocking on the door. Each guy is only like 20. I think the oldest, or Jaylen Brown is 26, and JT's like 20. He's about to turn 25, if I'm not mistaken. So Michael Jordan didn't win his first freaking title till he was like 30 years old. So I mean, you don't have to win titles in your 20s, ladies and gentlemen. It's not. There's no precedent. There's no prerequisite saying you got to win a title by your 25. Unless you're Jaylen Brown, because he did come out and say by the time he's like 25, he's gonna have like 5 championships. That was the most craziest thing I ever saw. But I think he said that when he was like a rookie, so it was pretty insane.
He had a flat top or something, right?
Yeah. So,
but Michael Jordan, by the way, was 28 years old.
28. Sorry, my bad.
LeBron was 28, I think, too.
Shaun had to fact check me. He had to fact check me. Kev would have been all over that.
Well, because that's an extra 2 years that you would be giving Jaylen Brown, who's already minus 2 years on his 5 championships.
He probably would have said something about LeBron was 25 or however old he was.
LeBron was 28, 29. I remember that.
Yeah, so
LeBron was 27 and 11 months and 30 days.
So
you guys so much.
I think just the
true.
Talent around this team, and this is a guy coming from this is from me, a Celtics fan, coming from I couldn't believe they traded Marcus Smart. Like my heart was broken when I found out that they traded Marcus Smart. But I feel like the team kind of got better because we've never seen this dynamic of the big that we have of Kristaps Porzingis and him being able to kind of stretch the floor and be another scoring threat for this team. And so I think that's going to come up huge for the Celtics in the playoffs because the game's going to slow down. You're going to need a little bit more scoring from your guys. And I don't think we got that dynamic from Marcus Smart last year, even though he did hit a couple of big shots in the playoffs for us last year. But I think so. And I'm kind of looking at the West. Like you see the Timberwolves, you see OKC. I feel like those teams are kind of going to beat up on each other in the West, and it's going to kind of come down to the team. I don't know who's going to make it out the West. It's not really clear cut in the West. I feel like it kind of is in the Eastern Conference. There's really two teams.
It's going to be the Nuggets.
You can say that, but they're not They're not kind of taking the regular season as serious as I would have liked, but yeah, they've had some injuries, but I don't know if they've really adjusted to losing those key bench guys in the offseason. Bruce Brown, Reggie Jackson they lost, Jeff Green lost, yeah. So we'll see how they kind of, fill those holes when playoff time comes. But I think this is the year for the Celtics. And that's not just me, being a Celtics fan. I'm just looking at it from the Eastern Conference. Like, the Bucks are there, yes. I feel like that would be the biggest threat to us, as I think most people would probably agree with me there. But the Bucks, I don't think they have it all figured out. I get that they have Dame and Giannis, but it's like they can't stop a nosebleed. I get they got Doc Rivers, and people are gonna shit on Doc Rivers because he's this and that, but I mean, he just got there. So like, you want him to change the whole team in less than a season? Like, that's very, very hard to do. You're asking him to do a lot, and his playoff record, and him losing a whole bunch of playoff series with all the stars that he's had. The optics are gonna be bad for this because, oh, you came in, blah blah blah, you got Giannis, you have Dame, but it's like you can't really change a team like more than past than halfway of the season. We even saw that with Kyrie and Luka last year when Kyrie got traded at the deadline. Like, they didn't even make the playoffs last year. So I just think it's going to be tough for the Bucks to try and make it out of the East. But yeah, I don't really see anyone beating the Celtics team.
Gary, factor cap. The Celtics will win the NBA championship this season.
I gotta say cap, just because I'm gonna take the field always, especially in this situation. But the NBA only has about 6 to 8 teams. I feel like really like 4 to 5 that are really in the NBA championship contention race. But I gotta go cap, even though I believe Von is right in everything he said. This is probably the year they're most ready. They're battle tested. They've been knocking on the door. They got an MVP candidate. They got Porzingis who's learned the system. They got the coach who's been there for now more than a year after taking over from Missoula. They got so many heartbreaks and things of that nature. Everything's lined up for them to win the championship. So I do believe they have a high chance. But I'm going to say cap, and the reason why I'm going to say cap is the road they're going to have to get to win a championship. And I do think the champion's going to come out of the West again. And if they had to play any team like the Denver Nuggets, they had to play the Clippers, they had to play maybe even the Timberwolves, the Phoenix Suns, those 4 teams, maybe not the Timberwolves, but for sure Denver Nuggets, the Clippers, and a Phoenix Suns type team. And somehow maybe if the Lakers can make a magic run like last year they did with the very same squad did they have, and playoff type atmosphere and slowing it down with AD and LeBron at the head of the snake, those teams right there, I just don't feel like they're going to be able to beat. So will they go to the championship? This was the question. I would actually say fact. I think I got Celtics going to go to the championship. I've been, on the Bucks bandwagon at the beginning of the year, but that's not the question this year. And I know it's not the question, Shaun. The question is, will they win the championship? So I got cap. I got multiple teams from the West beating them. So yeah, they might get there. And I haven't lost faith yet in the Bucks, even though they've had a rocky road type season. It hasn't been the greatest season. And even though the record is still there in top 3 and all things that nature, just hasn't been smooth transition as we thought it would be. But you never know, man. They have some championship DNA still in this team, so they can find it together to maybe even knock down the Celtics. So I just feel like, yeah, they have this is one of the best built-made teams the Celtics have had, and they might get close, and they could get it done. I'll go cap because I still got a couple more teams that I feel like are slightly better than the best Celtics version team, which I know is hard to say because they got the best record and everything points to them winning it. I'm not going to lie, but I just have a feeling still – the best player in these matchups, I'm going to take Joker. I'm going to take Giannis. I'm going to take Kawhi, the way he's playing. I'm going to take Durant if they somehow get. I'm going to take LeBron out of Tatum. So, that's what comes down to me sometimes, who's going to be the better player in the situation, especially of how these teams are built now. It's not like back in the day. Not back in the day. It's still built heavy top in a sense, but I just feel like they're just going to come down to role players like we've seen the Denver Nuggets, a KCP, a Michael Porter hitting some big shots, and Murray coming in clutch. You know what I'm saying? But I just feel like at the end of the day, since everything's so even, when your greatest players, you gotta take the best players. And that's what I did in the Super Bowl. That's why I took Mr. Baby Goat and the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, thanks for the reminder.
Fans. That's why I did in the playoffs over there. I'm gonna do it again in the NBA. We're gonna take the guy who are the best players in the league right now, and I got a Joker.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. We really needed that reminder.
Baby Goat.
Needed it.
I've been hating, man. Some guy told me he don't watch football no more. My Cowboys fan told the Niner fan said he don't want to watch football no more. And the Cowboys fan like, man, welcome to my life. I'm like, man, it's a tough road out here. Only one champion. All right, go ahead.
What, Jaevon?
I said we're focused on the draft now.
Oh. Yeah, we are. Pick number 31. Circling back to Factor Cap, the Celtics will win the NBA championship this season. This is a fact, and I will put it to you simply. When Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, and Kristaps Porzingis start together, the Celtics are 25-5. I don't know about you guys, but that's pretty damn good. The Celtics will win the NBA championship in 2024. Jaevon will be redeemed from the 49ers choking in the Super Bowl again, and Jaevon will at least be happy when the Celtics win the NBA. But the thing is, Gary, is I'm not even pulling for him in this moment. Like, yeah, as a 49ers fan, I hope that he can have some joy, which we did not get a couple weeks back. But I genuinely believe this is the Celtics year. Like, everything seems to be clicking. The Porzingis addition is like on point. Drew Holiday was an amazing addition. And then adding Porzingis just kind of put them over the top. And then that's not even mentioning Derek White or the two All-Stars that they had. And so, you know, I genuinely believe it that the Celtics will win the NBA championship this year. In stats over politics, they're 25-5 when they have their main starters in the lineup. And as Jaevon is indicating right now, he would be quite happy, just like Shrek, if the Boston Celtics were to win the NBA championship this season. So we'll see what happens. Maybe Jokic and Murray will get the job done again, or the Celtics will be NBA champions. I guess, Gary's on the back-to-back hype train after baby goes. Gary's feeling real good. Jaevon, we have reached the end of our power hour. I just wanted to ask, did you have 5 more minutes to do a pop quiz, or is it time to depart?
Oh, no. Yeah, we got to get this pop quiz going.
Oh, all right. Jaevon's ready to pick up. Jaevon's ready to pick up some points. So we'll get to this pop quiz real quickly. It'll take about 5-10 minutes max. But now, gentlemen, it is time for Shaun's pop quiz. Now, looking at the leaderboard of Shaun's pop quiz, Jaevon is currently in the lead with 7. He couldn't let Gary pick up some points on him this week. And so Jaevon's sticking around for the last 5 minutes. Gary has 4. Kaz has 2. Kevin currently has a DNP. And so, Gary, because you are in second place, you will go first. And here is your question, Gary, for Shaun's pop quiz. What team has the longest winning streak versus the Warriors during the Steve Kerr era? I'll read the question one more time.
Denver Nuggets.
Shaun's pop quiz. Okay, well, there you go.
7-0.
Ding, ding, ding. I don't even
Come
have
on,
to
man. I watch Sports Center. Scott Van Pelt too.
All right. Well, now you guys are finally catching on. You guys are finally catching on. Wow.
I watch Scott Van Pelt. I know you get your stuff from there. If you're over the back
you
of
guys
the gym,
are
I was watching
finally.
it
It's been like over a year. You guys are finally catching on. So
exposed, Vaughn. Exposed. Right here.
Well, for our audio only listeners, the question, I didn't even get a chance to reread the question. Gary was so on top of it. The question was, what team has the longest winning streak versus the Warriors during the Steve Kerr era? Ding, ding, ding. That is correct. It is the Denver Nuggets, who have won 7 in a row.
Extra points for saying 7-0, man.
Yeah, you actually do, because I was gonna say, for an extra point, tell me how many games in a row. Like, see, I didn't even get a chance to read out everything because Gary's so on top of it.
Ryan meter. I predict the future. Don't remember that.
All right, well, Gary just picked up 2 points right there because he got the team, he got the number of wins. But can you guys guess? And now that Jaevon, this is a free-for-all because Gary got the main answer. But can either of you guess who the 2 teams are that are tied for second and how many games in a row each of those teams won?
Damn, was that now Scott Van Pelt?
Yeah, it was on Scott Van Pelt because it was on the same graphic.
Sheesh.
Come on, Gary.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Let me think about it again. It's not that high. It's not that high of wins.
I don't know. I mean, should I? Do you guys want me to just tell you how many? All right, let's hear it.
All right. The Clippers.
That's wrong.
So one more team. I'll just guess one more team. And
okay, go ahead.
Lakers.
That is also incorrect. So, Jaevon, do you even have a guess?
LeBron is my guess.
These what I'm asking about are the two teams. Gary's gonna fucking name like all other 29 teams, 28 teams in the NBA. Okay, we're ending it there. Gary gets the 2 points. For second place on this list is Jaevon. You're gonna kick yourself. It's the Celtics and the Jazz.
I was thinking
the Celtics.
Shit on Pam against the Warriors recently.
Well, exactly because the Celtics and the Jazz, Jaevon, won 5 games in a row against the Warriors from 2019 to 2021. So it's been a minute. It's been a bit of a minute, but those two teams are tied. And Gary, you must not have been paying attention close enough because that stat was on the same graphic that you're referencing.
I've seen the main one.
Same graphic.
Hey,
Gary, I think the highlighted one. Oh, that's
yeah, I got you. So Gary picks up 2 points. He now has 6. Toddy has 7. And as we move on to Toddy's question of Shaun's pop quiz, Jaevon, on Sunday, De'Aaron Fox became the first king to go 4 straight games with at least 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists since who? Because De'Aaron Fox had 33 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists versus the Clippers. It was his 20th 30-point game of the season. But Jaevon, De'Aaron Fox is the first king to go 4 straight games with at least 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists since who? Is that your final answer?
Yes.
That is incorrect. Gary, do you have a guess? Go ahead, Gary.
I'm assuming his running mate, Mr. DeMontis Sabonis.
That is also incorrect.
Oh,
any other guesses?
DeMarcus Cousins?
Maybe.
That is also incorrect.
Ooh. The last one to do it? Oh, no way. 5, 6.
All right, so I'm gonna.
Did he go crazy one night in his tour stint?
Well, it would have to be 4 straight games at least, Gary. But no, that is also incorrect.
Tyrese Halliburton.
Well, that's who Gary just guessed. That's wrong. Okay, so I'm gonna eliminate one of the points here because I'll tell you guys the year that this happened. So I'll repeat the question at the end of the question. I will mention the year. No. On Sunday, De'Aaron Fox became the first king to go 4 straight games with at least 25 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists since 2002. When who did it?
Chris Webber.
Ding, ding, ding. Chris Webber is correct.
Wow.
Mike Bibby was a good guess, but Chris Webber is the answer as Chris Webber did it in 2002. So Toddy picks up a point. Toddy's now at 8. And we get to our final question of Shaun's pop quiz, which is a free-for-all because this would be Kevin's question. So this is a free-for-all, and we have multiple answers to this question. So shit could get a little wild here. Here's the question. And this question is in the NFL. So Gary and I are going to talk about Tee Higgins getting tagged by the Bengals in a moment. But Tee Higgins and Jamar Chase have the 3rd most receiving yards and touchdowns, respectively, by a wide receiver duo over the last 3 seasons. Who ranks ahead of them? I see you, Gary. So here's the question one more time before we get Gary's response. Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins have the 3rd most receiving yards and touchdowns by a wide receiver duo over the last 3 seasons. Who ranks ahead of them? Gary, you signaled to answer this question first. Are you going to answer on receiving yards or receiving touchdowns? Because they're 3rd in both.
They're 3rd in both. So there's just total 4 points we can get here. That's what you're saying?
There are 4 points that you can get here.
I don't know. I'm just gonna name a duo. They're up there somewhere.
Well, go ahead and name a duo. Name a duo, and I'll let you know if they apply on either list.
Oh, all right. I was gonna say Kirk Cousins and I'm forgetting his name right now on the wide receiver for the Vikings who got injured. Oh my god, I'm forgetting his name right now. But I literally just seen it the other day on ESPN. Well, the best wide receiver on the Vikings, guys. Give me the help real quick. I don't know who his name is.
Well, guess what? Kirk Cousins is not a wide receiver. We're talking about 2 wide receivers.
I know. Oh,
that
2 wide
have combined.
receivers. I'm thinking quarterback. I'm dumbass. I'm thinking quarterback versus wide receiver combo. Go
I
ahead,
got you,
Vaughn.
Toddy.
You
I
deserve to
see
steal
you.
this. You deserve to steal
All
this.
right, I got
ahead.
you, Toddy. So, Toddy, go ahead. I'm not even going to ask if you're talking about receiving yards or receiving touchdowns. Toddy, who's the duo who you think ranks ahead of Chase and Higgins?
Is it AJ Brown and Devontae Smith?
Yeah.
Sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, on
The
behalf
answer
of
is no.
Damn it.
Oh,
Oh, wait,
damn,
Debo
bro.
and IU.
Sorry, Jaevon. The answer is no.
Damn it.
Oh, okay.
So, Gary,
Tyreek
while you take,
And Waddle, they caught up that fast in 3 years? I don't think so. Maybe.
what was your guess, Gary?
Tyreek Hill and Waddle.
Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, ding, ding, ding. They are number
caught-
1 in combined receiving yards.
Yeah.
Yep, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle have combined for 6,984 yards to rank
Redeemed.
number 1 among wide receiver duos in the NFL when it comes to receiving yards. So Gary picks up a point. There are 3 remaining answers out there. So there's 1 more duo that rank ahead of Chase and Higgins in receiving yards. And there's 2 more duos that rank ahead of them in receiving touchdowns.
Damn, what duo? What, Mike Evans and Godwin?
Ding, ding, ding. That is correct.
Wow.
That's another good guess.
Vaughn, I'm on fire, bro. From not understanding the question.
He's doing the Scotty Barnes in the Rising Stars game where he just throws it behind
Yeah,
his back.
exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
Dang.
That's what Gary's out here doing. So Mike
Predicting
Evans
the
and Chris
future.
Godwin. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin have 71 more receiving yards than Chase and Higgins,
I
as
think,
Mike Evans and Chris Godwin rank second with 6,564. So
Oh,
that
Tom
gets to
Brady
the
time.
2 guys who are ahead of Chase and Higgins when it comes to receiving yards. Toddy, what did you want to say real quick?
That has a lot to do with Tom Brady as well.
Yeah, that's what I said too. Yeah.
Yeah, sure does. Yeah, exactly. Because it says over the last 3 seasons, they probably were the leaders after 2 seasons, but this is over the last 3. So those are the 2 duos that are ahead of Chase and Higgins in receiving yards. And before you guys start to guess who may be ahead of them in receiving touchdowns, I will tell you, they are not the Dolphins duo or the Buccaneers duo. So there's 2 more duos who
Cooper
rank
Kupp.
ahead.
Puka Nacua?
That is also incorrect. You got to think about Puka's only played 1 year.
Oh, damn it. Yeah.
Is CD Lamb and whoever you want to call is number 2. Oh, no.
I don't know who's number 2.
No,
You might have to
I
figure
don't
that
know.
out on your own.
Nah, he doesn't have a number 2 like that. My Steelers ain't got nobody. Niners ain't got no. Oh, DK Metcalf.
Oh!
I like it.
DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett.
Damn, Toddy, you just gave him the second answer. He
You
was
gave
about
me
to
the second
say
one.
DK.
I got Lockett. I didn't say Tyler. I wasn't gonna say Tyler. I was gonna say Lockett. I was gonna say Tyler.
Big Bud.
He was about to say Jackson Smith and Jigba and Metcalf, but you gave him the second answer. Ding,
I
ding,
wasn't
ding,
gonna say
Gary,
that.
you are correct. Gary, you are correct. Ranking second in
Sheesh.
total receiving
Tyler couldn't
touchdowns.
grab a phone.
DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett have 48. Jamar Chase and Tee Higgins have 47. There's 1 remaining duo who have 49 combined receiving touchdowns over the last 3 seasons. So Gary just picked up a point. He is now tied with Toddy with 8 apiece. 1 answer remaining. This duo that is number 1 in the NFL in receiving touchdowns over the last 3 seasons have scored 49 combined touchdowns. Toddy is looking off into space thinking so hard right now.
I'm like, touchdowns.
I don't know. Devontae Adams, who's he paired with? Nobody.
Touchdown.
It can't be
Who
Tyreek Hill. It can't be Kelsey. You say it can't be Kelsey. He's not a receiver. So
No, he's not. We're talking wide receivers.
wide receivers.
So I will read the question
thinking.
one more time before we...
Diggs and Gabe Davis.
Huh?
Diggs
What
and
was
Gabe
it? What
Davis?
was the answer?
Stephon Diggs.
What's Diggs? I was waiting for Stephon Diggs' first name.
Stephon
Stephon Diggs and
names kind of the back of the jersey. Sheesh.
Gary,
No,
you weren't gonna get Lockett. You weren't gonna get Lockett, so I'm not gonna just hand out points. But ding, 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 Gary got it. He is correct. Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis of the Buffalo Bills have combined for 49 receiving touchdowns over the last 2 seasons, and they lead the NFL. So just like that, Gary goes from down. I think he was down 3 points coming into this week, and now Gary is in the lead with 9. Toddy has 8. Kaz has 2 from the one episode.
Big comeback, Vaughn. Let's end the game today. It's my biggest hot streak in the game. Huh?
Toddy, final thoughts before you attend to daddy duty?
I said I don't know ball.
No, you're way better than me. I'm surprised I got those.
Time to go study up. Thank you, Toddy. We'll see you next
right,
week as Jaevon now is going to go tend to Mr. Mako and Miss Sophia. Shout out to Sophia and Mako and the entire Toddy family as Gary and I keep things rolling here on episode number 83 of Stats Over Politics. Shaun Holko alongside Gary Singh. Our guy Jaevon Toddy just had to depart because he is obviously the pod father. And our guy Kevin Dent is here with us in spirit always. As now, Gary, let's keep things rolling. And we got one final block here on episode number 83. And it's in regard to the NFL, Gary, because we were just talking about the duo of Ja'Marr Chase and Tee Higgins. And it seems like they're going to be sticking around together for a while because the Bengals recently put the franchise tag on Tee Higgins. And so as a fan of a team in the AFC North, Gary, how do you feel about your rivals keeping Tee Higgins at least for one more year?
Non-factor. I think it's a non-factor in my situation. I know he's a great wide receiver, but I think they should have pulled a Chiefs and maybe traded him and maybe got something for him earlier. He's obviously a capable number one, and it's great to have multiple number one options and multiple wide receivers in this great league. So him being together with Joe Burrow and obviously Ja'Marr Chase is a great trio to have together, and that is nothing to say about them. But the reason why I said non-factor is because we just seen a team win a championship with basically multiple wide receivers, maybe not even number one, to get it done. And I know they have Kelsey as a number one option, and Mr. Shaun's going to say that. And you can also see in the second team and the other team that won Super Bowl, which they don't have a definitive number one option. The guys across me would say that Ayuk is one of the best players. They would say Kittle, Debo. You know what I'm saying? Exactly.
No. Brandon Ayuk is clearly the number one after this season, but go ahead and continue.
After the season, but for 3 seasons, you're saying Debo. So it's obviously up there, and you know what I'm saying? So it's done by committee in a way nowadays. It's good to have multiple guys, and yes, they have multiple guys, but I'm just saying, I just feel like they needed more on their team to get over the hump, and this would have been a great opportunity. That even though I love Tee Higgins, he's a great fantasy guy. That's a great duo. Not to say that
he wasn't a great fantasy guy this season, that's for sure.
Not this season. Didn't you trade for him?
Yeah. Toddy traded him to me.
Rob, you remember that?
I finessed Toddy, and Toddy pulled the all-time finesse on me.
The back row Rob. Anyways, I said all the good things. I think this is going to work. I think it's going to be great for next year. But if you're looking to compete versus the Chiefs, who have building a dynasty in multiple years, you want to be great and you have a great quarterback who's obviously proven to be a little injury prone. So I feel like you would, I think they should have traded him way earlier to get something on the line to help their guys stay upright to throw him the ball. You feel me? To get a better defense. So my experience, in my opinion, I don't think he deserves his money. He's a great wide receiver. It's gonna be they're gonna have a great next year if Joe Burrow's back. But in my opinion, I just feel like this could have been a GM moment where it would have been slick to, might have hurt the fans' heart and things of that nature. But like I said earlier, pull a trade, Tyreek Hill type of trade, where it's gonna help you in the long haul because you have that type of great quarterback. And he can make guys who are maybe not that great as Tee Higgins look great. So that's the one thing I feel like they kind of missed on this bug. But hey, adding a great guy, adding a wide receiver like this talent to keep him there is always a good thing. But if you're thinking GM perspective, how I took this right here, I think I would say I would have traded him earlier to get something in return to help this team get better in other ways.
I truly cannot believe that you said that this is a non-factor. We literally just did a 10-minute segment on the fact that Tee Higgins and Jamar Chase both as a duo rank in the top 3 of receiving touchdowns and receiving yards. There wasn't another duo who also ranked in the top 3. It was okay. You have the Buccaneers and the Dolphins duos that rank in the top of receiving yards. And then you have the Bills and the Seahawks duo who rank in the top of receiving touchdowns. Both of these guys are doing both. And that's like, putting aside the fact that Joe Mixon is also on this team and the fact that a guy in I was gonna say Tyler Boyd, but there was another name I was thinking of. But Tyler Boyd, I mean, he's the slot guy on this team, but arguably Tyler Boyd would probably be a number 2 wide receiver on a lot of other teams, but he's a number 3. And Gary, I just got to take a moment to push back on this Super Bowl notion that you just made, because I'm going to leave the Chiefs to the side for a second. It was clear going into Super Bowl Sunday that the 49ers' number 1 wide receiver was Brandon Ayuk. That's why Brandon Ayuk.
Everyone says that. Everyone says they're not Niner fans. Basically, that Debo's number 1. That's why they said they needed his help. They needed him the whole way there. All of a sudden, you don't need Debo now. Okay, he's a maybe best route runner on the team, but everyone says Debo is the one that makes that team go. But anyways, keep going. You're a Niner fan, so obviously you feel he's number 1. But go ahead, keep going.
Well, I would say that going into this season, the argument was that Brandon Ayuk was the best route runner on the team, but Debo was the playmaker. But then once you played, what was it, 20 games this season, it was clear to 49ers fans who watched every single game, or football fans that saw more than a couple 49ers games. See, I disagree with you, Gary, and maybe it's my bias shining through here, but to me, the reason why 49ers fans say that Brandon Ayuk was the clear number 1 wide receiver, because Debo is a wide back. He's so good that he created his own position. But to me, it's clear that Brandon Ayuk was the number 1 wide receiver for the 49ers going into that Super Bowl. And I feel like the reason why it was clear to 49ers fans or to very smart football analysts and observers
Shut the fuck
is
up.
No, I genuinely
no. What did you mean smart fans? I just told you he wasn't number 1. There's multiple guys saying he wasn't number 1. He wasn't number 1. That's why he's about to leave. Y'all letting the number 1 guy leave now? You letting your number 1 guy leave?
You're helping my point right now. He
No,
feels like he needs.
If you want to talk about the Bengals thing, did you remember that spurt before Joe Burrow got injured? They weren't playing that good. Tee Higgins was there. Jamar Chase was there, and they might lead the league in all of these things, but they weren't getting the job done during the time before he got injured. And yes, before they went to the Super Bowl with this team. But at the same time, to beat a team like the Chiefs and all the other teams, you're gonna need multiple assets, Shaun. Like your team, you're gonna have multiple Hall of Famers in multiple areas. And I don't know if you check this Bengals team out. They don't got that right now. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, Karen, I'm just telling you, like you're trying to fight me. That's saying he's not great, that he's not going to be an asset. I just said that he's going to be great. And he's going to be a great player. But in terms of keeping your team and getting better in other areas, they could have used him and his greatness to trade to get other things in other areas. Obviously, that's always not looked upon great, because you always want to keep your good guys in house. But some teams just need a little bit more in other areas, and he could have been an asset. That's the only thing I'm really saying here, Shaun.
I'm just stuck on like. Probably you said it within your first 5 to 10 words of your response when you just said this is not a game changer or something of that matter.
Yeah, because I don't think it's gonna make them go to the Super Bowl.
Okay. Well, we can.
I think they could have. I think they could have plug and played somebody else in that spot, and they could have maybe still had the same exact outcome this year. Coming up,
perhaps. And we can agree to disagree when it comes to Brandon Ayuk and the 49ers, because we'll just save that for another day.
It's close though. You act like it's clear cut. Is Debo not great no more? Is he not one of the best players on the team? Is he at least number 2?
No, for sure, neck. Without a doubt.
Is he neck and neck? Yeah, or is it clear cut now? You know.
No, I think it's clear cut. Like we're talking like wide receiver. Like you mentioned,
he's wide receiver. He gets paid as wide receiver. I know he does everything. I know he's used as a back too, but.
Well, that's the point that I'm trying to make, is that when we were going through Shaun's pop quiz, you briefly mentioned Travis Kelce, but you were like, no, Travis Kelce is a tight end. He's not a wide receiver. Like Travis Kelce is a pass catcher / playmaker, but he is technically a tight end. Deebo Samuel, pass catcher, playmaker. He is technically a wide receiver, but for the most part, Deebo could be considered a wide back because everything that we've already talked about. We'll move on to that. We'll bookmark that because it's the NFL offseason. We'll have plenty of time to circle back to that. But I also wanted to follow up when you mentioned the Chiefs. It's like, oh yeah, the Chiefs just won a Super Bowl with, arguably the best pass catcher, like a top 5 pass catcher in the NFL, regardless of if he's a tight end or not. Top 5 pass catcher. And yeah, the rest of the guys weren't really notable. I mean, Rashee Rice came on later in the season, but like they had the baby goat, Patrick Mahomes, throwing to him. Like that's kind of a big deal, and he's one of one. And so I would not even mention the Chiefs in a comparison discussion. Just, I get the point that you're overall trying to make, but like Patrick Mahomes is one of one. And so like, I don't even think that they can even be mentioned in this same discussion and conversation.
I got a question for you, Shaun.
Go ahead.
This is why I thought GMY is in this situation. Can you name me a team realistically, other than like you said, the Chiefs, that we can put as an anomaly because they're so great, right? Other than the Chiefs, what team really in the last 10 years, if you just think top of your head, now I'm throwing you top of your head, has a great wide receiver duo that won the championship, the Super Bowl? Like top now. Okay, I actually said one earlier, I guess, but I wouldn't put in that level still. Godwin and Evans, maybe. But then we want to say Brady's the GOAT. So obviously you just did that with who is that duo that you win championships? That's what I'm trying to say here.
Well, real quickly, did you specifically say wide receiver duo or just
wide receiver duo? This is what this is.
Okay.
This is wide.
Okay. Thank you. I wanted to make sure and clarify because obviously the first Super Bowl for the Chiefs was with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, which is a pretty good dynamic duo. But as we've already belabored the point, Travis Kelce is a tight end. Yes, Godwin and Evans is the closest one that has happened because the last 2 Super Bowls since then have been won by the Chiefs. Then you think back, I mean, Cooper Kupp and who was opposite of who was opposite of Cooper Kupp at that time? Oh yeah, I get. Yeah, you're right. Half Odell. Well, I mean, Odell, he did catch a touchdown.
He just went past, but he wasn't number 2 prime timing like that now.
No,
not
at all.
I'm saying. We can go back. Let's go a little more back. I'm trying to think. Okay,
before the Rams, it was Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, and then
we just talked about that.
2019, that was the Patriots again, right?
Patriots,
that was the Patriots beating the Rams, right? And the Patriots had Julian Edelman and Rob Gronkowski. That's a pretty good duo, but again, tight end. And then you think back to 2018.
Is that Eagles?
I think that's the Eagles played in the 2018 Super Bowl 2017 season. They did have the wide receiver duo of AJ Brown wasn't around. Who was their wide receiver duo back then? See, this is
for which one?
The Eagles. The Eagles.
We don't have Shaun. We don't have Kevin here. I forget who was their wide receiver. But
I mean, Zach Ertz was a big piece for them. But as far as their number 1 wide receiver, I can't think of them off the top. Anyways, okay. So just continuing overall, how I feel about the Bengals franchising Tee Higgins, I think this is a great move because whether if you are correct or not, Gary, on them being too late to trade him like for a good asset, the point is that they franchise him, which in the NFL basically means you're stuck here. Your free agency is null and void. Like you can either play for us and sign the deal that we're offering you, which is like a $15 million 1-year contract, or you just don't play and you Le'Veon Bell it. And so, in my opinion, this was a good move because they retain the rights to Tee Higgins. Whether if Tee Higgins ever wants to play for the Bengals ever again doesn't matter. And it's unfortunate to say that, but it doesn't matter now for the next year. He can either sign the contract and play this year, or he can sit out a full year and then he gets his rights back after that as far as being a free agent. But I say that this is a good move just because the Bengals, whether if Tee Higgins is going to play for them again and be their number 2 wide receiver, or if he never plays for them again as a franchise, the Bengals retain his rights. And to me, that's important. And that's why this was a good move for me. Unless you have any, go ahead, close it out.
I'm just saying, you didn't name the top 10. We look back. I didn't hear the duos because there's not any duos, Shaun. There's not any duos like that. That's not the formula right now. The formula used to be you don't even need a top 1 line. Now you at least need a top gun, at least one top gun. And from there, you got the top gun quarterback. You can rock and roll with it. So let's see what the Bengals do. But Let's go Kings, baby. Let's chop this up. Hopefully we can, Shaun, let's get right. We got Denver, the champs, coming in. We got 3 games and 4 nights right here with the Denver now tomorrow night. So ending on that note, let's try to light the beam tomorrow. And yeah, let's get it, Shaun. Stats over politics, baby. We rocking and we rolling.
Well, I hate to disappoint you there. I said close it out just in terms of this topic.
Pod.
I mean, we got Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. You want to talk about
it? That's football. Let's say that. We'll end this right here. So let's say that for we got all week to talk about football.
All right. Well, Gary said it, and that's it. That's going to do it for episode number 83 of Stats Over Politics. We appreciate you all for tuning in. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. And if you enjoyed the podcast, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on X at Stats or Politics. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you guys have been tuned in to episode number 83 of Stats Over Politics, for my guys, Jaevon, Toddy, Gary Singh, and Kevin Dent, I'm your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next week. I'm not sure if we're going to be live on Monday next week. Probably another Kings game next Monday. We'll probably see you next Tuesday on another episode of Stats Over Politics.